Hello students, you're welcome to today's lesson. Today we'll be looking at another interesting topic, direction and bearing. In our last lesson, we treated map measurements, and there we learned how to measure the distance along the straight line and also along the winding curve. We also calculated the area of surfaces. Now, at this lesson, we'll be looking at various objectives. One, we should be able to define the direction. What do we refer to as the direction of a place in a map? Also, we'll be looking at the various methods of describing the direction of a place on the map. Thereafter, we'll be looking at the bearing. What do we refer to as the bearing of a place and how do we measure it? Also, we'll be looking at the types of bearings, the different types that are used on a topographical map. And also, at this lesson, we'll be looking at how to calculate the bearing of one place from another on the map. Thereafter, we'll be looking at determining the bearing from one place to another. Now the question is, what is direction? Direction refers to the course or path to be followed from one point to another. It indicates the cardinal or intermediate points of the compass, such as north, south, east, and west. In map reading, directions are often indicated by symbols or arrows on the map. In describing the positions and directions of places within a map, three methods are commonly used. We have the first, the use of the cardinal points, the compass, and bearing. Now, the cardinal point exists in 4 levels. We have the 4 cardinal points, the 8 cardinal points, the 16 cardinal points, and also the 32 cardinal points. The cardinal points are usually shown on the compass. Some of the advantages of using the cardinal points are they are very simple to use and learn, and they are also used to describe position where accuracy is not needed. Next is the compass. The compass is a simple instrument used in measuring the actual direction of a place viewed from another place. When using the compass to determine the direction of a place, measurement is done from the north. There are 2 types of compass. We have the simple compass and the prismatic compass. Some of the advantages of the use of compass are it is simple to use and learn and is very reliable. While the disadvantages are it is expensive to procure or to buy, and also it can be affected by attractions from the environment and the presence of metal. Next, we'll be looking at bearing. Bearing is a more precise measurement of direction, and it represents the angle between a reference point and the line connecting 2 points on the map. Bearing is expressed in degrees, starting from 0 at the reference point and rotating clockwise up to 360 degrees. There are 2 types of bearing. We have the true bearing and the magnetic bearing. The true bearing is the direction of a place as measured by the angle that the line passing through the point of observation makes with the north-south line drawn against the position of the observer. True bearings are usually angles measured with reference to the true north. We have three types of knots. We have the magnetic knots, we have the grid knots, and also the geographic knot, which is a true knot. The magnetic knot refers to the direction indicated by a compass, which aligns with the Earth's magnetic field. Next is the magnetic bearing. Now, this has to do with the position from an observer, and it is defined as the angle which a line from the object to the observer makes with the magnetic north-south line passing through the position of the observer. The instrument used in measuring the magnetic bearing is the prismatic compass. It is important to note that the magnetic bearings are read with reference to the magnetic north, and this is not fixed in one position. The angle which the magnetic north makes with the true north is known as the magnetic declination or magnetic variation. It is important to note that the direction that is opposite to the north is the south. Next is to determine the true bearing of a place. How do we determine the true bearing of a place? First, you have to draw the 4 cardinal points on the place. That is, after locating the places involved on the map, you have to draw the cardinal points on the place where you are taking it from. It is important to take note of from, because that is where you place the 4 cardinal points. Thereafter, using your ruler, you draw a straight line to join the 2 places involved. Thereafter, you place your protractor on the side of the line, and the degrees which falls on that line represents the bearing. It is important to note that the readings are taken in clockwise direction, beginning from the north. It is important to note that the bearing of due south is 180 degree, and when one is moving or heading at a bearing of 270 degree, of course the direction is in the west. The bearing that represents the angle between west and south is 225 degree, while the bearing of due northwest is 45 degrees. It is important to note that the bearing due north is 0 degree, while due east is 90 degree, due south is 180 degree, and due west is 270, and thereafter we have the 360 degree. Note that the grid north refers to the direction of the grid lines on the map. The grid lines forms the pattern of horizontal and vertical lines that divides the map into series of squares. Grid lines is the direction along the vertical grid lines, and this is typically represented by the top of the edge of the map. With this, we have come to the end of the lesson. Please do well to ask your questions if there are any. Don't forget to attempt your quizzes, and see you in my next class. Thank you.